Welcome to Zodiac Talks Tarot, the space where astrology is treated not as a party trick or a dusty superstition but as a living map of your psyche, your choices, and your destiny. I'm honored to have you here, especially if you stumbled in while scrolling past a sea of dog memes, political arguments, or a cooking reel teaching you how to fry bacon with maple syrup. Take a breath. You're not here by accident. Spirit has a funny way of working, and Sagittarius, you're one of the few signs who actually notices the cosmic wink when it happens. For centuries, people have called your archetype the seeker, the philosopher archer, the wanderer who can't resist the horizon. But today's message, my friends, is about a deeper identity stirring in you. The image that shines through is not just the seeker but the warrior, the archer who has learned not only to roam but to aim, to draw the bow with intention, to lock eyes on a higher truth. That mark you feel on your life, that uncanny sense of "I'm here for something bigger," isn't just a passing mood. It's a signature written into your spirit across lifetimes, waiting for the precise cosmic timing to awaken, and if you're hearing this now, that timing is here. This isn't a routine horoscope telling you to watch out for tall strangers on Tuesday or to double-check your spam folder for a lost love letter. This is an initiation, the kind of moment that splits the road of your life into a before and an after. And because you're Sagittarius, it comes with a little humor and a lot of fire. Your awakening doesn't happen in a quiet monastery but in the middle of your messy, vibrant, adventurous life. This reading is your invitation to see yourself not as a passive passenger but as a chosen warrior stepping into a year of triumph, where your inner courage becomes your compass. Buckle up, or don't. Sagittarius hates seat belts, but either way, your journey starts now. Welcome to Zodiac Talks Tarot, where astrology is treated as a living language rather than a superstition and where the constellations become maps of the mind, society, and the soul. Today we turn our attention to Sagittarius, and if you are here it is no accident. Spirit has a strange way of nudging you at exactly the moment you are ready to hear something, often when you least expect it, between a news clip, a coffee break, or a video of someone teaching a raccoon to surf. But when the arrow of destiny lands, Sagittarius notices. You are, after all, the archer who can pick out a glimmer on the horizon while the rest of the crowd is still distracted by shiny objects at their feet. For centuries you have been called the seeker, the philosopher archer, the wanderer who can never quite resist the call of a distant road. But this moment in your life is about more than seeking. It is about stepping into the archetype of the warrior. In old mythologies, the warrior was not merely a soldier who swung a sword because someone told him to. The true warrior fought for something bigger: justice, vision, honor, and a future that did not yet exist. Like every archetype, this figure has two faces. In its light, the warrior is courageous, decisive, disciplined, and powerful. In its shadow, it can be ruthless, vengeful, or addicted to the fight itself. This duality is not a flaw in the symbol but a mirror for human nature. Every quality we admire can, if misused, become destructive. Every shadow we fear can, if integrated, become strength. Sagittarius knows this more intimately than most. People often mistake your fire for recklessness. They see you shoot an arrow into the distance and assume you were playing around. They watch you book a plane ticket, quit a job, or speak a truth no one else dared to voice, and they label it impulsive. But your spirit is not built for meaningless battles. Your bow hums with purpose. The moment before you release an arrow, your whole body vibrates with the awareness of what you are aiming at. You are not here to fight simply because you enjoy conflict. You are here to fight for a vision, to defend a horizon that only you can see at first. That is what makes this lifetime rare. For many Sagittarians, this is the first time in several incarnations that you are stepping consciously into your warrior path. You are no longer a wanderer who bumps into destiny by accident. You are an archer who knows the difference between wandering and questing. The question that now confronts you is deceptively simple: what is your battle? What cause, what vision, what truth is worth the draw of your bow? In tarot, the card that appears for you now is the Chariot. In every deck it depicts a figure who takes the reins of two powerful creatures pulling in opposite directions. The image is not about speed but mastery. Sagittarius, this is the cosmic reminder that you are not meant to be a passenger in your own story. You are meant to drive. For too long many of you have felt like life was dragging you along, like responsibilities, expectations, or old wounds were steering your wheel while you sat politely in the back seat. The Chariot arrives to say, enough. Now you grab the reins. Here is where the irony makes the lesson sting a little. Sagittarius is one of the signs most allergic to control. You do not like rules. You do not like limits. You do not even like seat belts. You are the one who reads "fasten seat belt" and thinks, sure, but only if I feel like it. Yet life is not asking you to control. It is asking you to lead. There is a difference. Leadership does not mean knowing every turn on the road. It means holding the vision steady and daring to move even when the road disappears into fog. It means being willing to adjust without abandoning the destination. Think of a sailor who cannot command the wind but can still steer the ship. That is the kind of leadership the Chariot calls for. You are the captain now. And here is a thought from Buddhist philosophy that may serve you well: clinging to control is suffering, but so is surrendering all responsibility. The middle path is conscious participation. You cannot prevent every storm, but you can choose how you hold the rudder. You cannot stop the horses from having their own instincts, but you can guide them with clarity. This is the deeper teaching of the Chariot for you at this stage of life. Now we step into the most mystical part of the message, the mark of the soul. Throughout history, cultures have whispered about those who are marked. Sometimes the mark is literal, a birthmark, a scar, an oddity of the body. Sometimes it is symbolic, a string of coincidences, a strange magnetism, a life story that refuses to follow the normal script. In astrology, this theme appears strongly for Sagittarius at moments of awakening. Often the mark does not sit on your skin but on your narrative. Think about your own history. Have you always felt like your path was different from everyone else's? Did you grow up as the odd one out at school, the one who could not play by the rules, the one who blurted out the truth everyone else was too polite or too afraid to say? Did you feel, even as a child, that you were visiting this life rather than being fully immersed in it? That is your mark. Your authenticity is the scar that will not fade, the sign that you were not sent here to blend in but to stand out. Many Sagittarians experience ridicule early in life because of this. You are told you are too blunt, too intense, too out there. People misread your honesty as aggression, your restlessness as irresponsibility. That is the shadow of being marked. You are often misunderstood long before you are celebrated. But here is the turning point. The very thing you were mocked for becomes your crown. Your candid speech, your appetite for truth, your refusal to fit the mold, all of these become the qualities that elevate you. This dynamic is familiar not only in astrology but in psychology and literature. The hero of a novel is rarely the well-behaved child who stays quiet at the dinner table. The hero is the one who sees a deeper pattern and, despite ridicule, dares to act. In social terms, those who disrupt old systems are always first called troublemakers before they are recognized as pioneers. Sagittarius, you carry that pioneer energy in your DNA. In Buddhist teaching there is a phrase about turning the arrow inward. It means looking at the pain others project onto you and using it as a mirror to grow stronger rather than to harden. Your early ridicule can become your training ground for compassion rather than bitterness. That is how the mark becomes a blessing instead of a wound. And let us not forget humor, which is as essential to you as oxygen. Because if you cannot laugh at the absurdity of your own journey, you will drown in its seriousness. You may have noticed how the universe gives Sagittarians the weirdest training programs imaginable, a family that tests your freedom, a job that forces you to develop patience, a relationship that teaches you how to stand your ground without running away. It is as if Spirit wrote your syllabus after a long night of cosmic coffee and thought, let's make this one interesting. Only a Sagittarius could take that syllabus and still crack a joke in the middle of the exam. Humor is not a distraction from your awakening, it is part of it. It keeps your heart open while your spirit sharpens. So as you move through this period of your life, remember the 3 layers of today's message. First, the warrior archetype within you is awakening. You are not here to fight meaningless battles but to defend a vision. Second, the Chariot invites you to take the reins of your life. Stop waiting for someone else to steer or for destiny to hand you a map. Leadership for you does not mean control, it means conscious movement toward your higher aim. And third, the mark of your soul is real. It may have shown up as ridicule, misunderstanding, or feeling out of place, but it is also the evidence of your authenticity. What once set you apart as strange is now what sets you apart as necessary. This is why this moment is so potent. You are not just a wanderer anymore. You are a chosen warrior stepping into a season where your inner courage becomes your compass. And because you are Sagittarius, you will do it with a twinkle in your eye, a story to tell, and maybe a sarcastic joke about the absurdity of enlightenment. You will do it not in a silent monastery but in the middle of your messy, vibrant, adventurous life. That is your genius. That is your gift. And that is why, when the arrow of destiny lands, you are always the one who notices and picks it up. Let us pause for a moment and speak plainly, because this part is not just about abstract archetypes or poetic metaphors. It is about you, Sagittarius, and the peculiar weight you have carried across lifetimes. Some of you hearing this will laugh it off, others will not and think finally, someone put words to it. If you are the latter, then lean in, because what I am about to describe is what I call the condition of the chosen ones. And no, this is not a Netflix superhero audition or the trailer for the next Marvel spin-off, though I admit it sounds suspiciously cinematic. Being chosen does not make you superior, it does not place a crown on your head or exempt you from the very human mess of heartbreak, bills, or mismatched socks. Instead, it means your soul signed up for the advanced syllabus of Earth School. While other students were happily practicing multiplication tables, you were shoved into calculus before you knew how to hold a pencil. You incarnated with the task of carrying wisdom that wasn't always welcome, of lighting torches for others when you could barely see your own way forward, and very often of suffering first so you could help others later. That has been your curriculum, Sagittarius, and whether you like it or not, you have been enrolled since birth. Now we stand in 2025, what I call the year of triumph. Not triumph as in fireworks exploding the moment you roll out of bed, not triumph as in the lottery ticket that solves all problems overnight, but triumph in the quiet, steady sense of fruit finally ripening on trees you planted years ago. For Sagittarius, this is the year when struggles begin to yield victories. Imagine yourself walking into an orchard. For seasons you have watered, weeded, and endured storms that seemed to ruin everything. But this year, the branches bent under the weight of apples you almost stopped believing would grow. That is the gift of the chosen ones, to harvest when others only see barren soil. Yet, to pretend it has been easy would be dishonest. Let us talk about the shadow battles, the part of your journey most of you do not advertise on social media. You have fought wars in love, wars in career, wars with your family, and perhaps most intensely, wars within yourself. There were mornings when anxiety clung to your chest, nights when depression whispered that you were not enough, days when the pressure to prove yourself felt like a vice around your ribs. And if you are honest, you sometimes made it worse. Because Sagittarius, your love of freedom is legendary, but without discipline that freedom can leave you scattered, overextended, even self-sabotaging. The irony of your sign is that you are both the philosopher and the fugitive. You can speak noble truths, but you can also bolt out the back door the moment reality asks you to stay still. Here is where Buddhist wisdom offers a hand. The Buddha often taught that suffering does not arise from pain alone but from our refusal to face it. You, dear Sagittarius, have sometimes tried to outrun your suffering by jumping into new adventures, by booking the next flight, by chasing novelty the way others chase comfort food. But eventually every warrior must turn around and face the dragon. Running only circles the mountain. It is only when you plant your feet and stare into the smoke that transformation begins. This is why your battles, painful as they are also your initiations. They temper you. They remind you that freedom without discipline is chaos, but discipline without freedom is prison. You were born to walk the narrow road between the two. Now, let us speak of your gift, your superpower. Some of you already know what it is. You may carry intuitive abilities, dreams that predict events, a strange knack for just knowing, or flashes of clairvoyance that make you wonder whether your brain is tuned to a cosmic radio station. Others hold intellectual gifts, a mind that connects ideas across fields, that notices patterns others miss, that leaps ahead of the curve. And for some, the gift is more subtle but no less powerful, simply your presence. When you walk into a room, people feel lighter. They laugh louder. They imagine more boldly. That, Sagittarius, is your superpower, though you often shrug it off as nothing special. Of course, the world has not always welcomed that gift. Many of you have been mocked, dismissed, or punished for being too much or too wild. The same fire that made you magnetic was described as reckless. The honesty that made you refreshing was labeled blunt or rude. The expansive energy that made you visionary was called unrealistic. But here is the twist of fate: what the world once condemned in you is exactly what it now needs. At a time when so many are afraid to speak truth, your bluntness is medicine. At a time when many shrink their dreams to fit into tiny boxes, your expansiveness is oxygen. At a time when authenticity is more valuable than appearance, your refusal to fake it is liberation. So here is your task: stop hiding your gift. Stop editing yourself down to fit small rooms, shrinking your spirit to accommodate fragile egos or outdated expectations. The world does not need Sagittarius in lowercase letters, tiptoeing politely across the stage. The world needs Sagittarius in full caps, bold, unashamed, and willing to risk the awkward silence that follows an inconvenient truth. Yes, you may ruffle feathers. Yes, you may occasionally step on toes. But better a bruised toe than a suffocated spirit. Your laughter, your honesty, your vision, these are not accidents. They are tools entrusted to you. Think of it this way: if you were meant to be quiet, compliant, and comfortable, the universe would have placed you under the sign of Libra and left you to mediate dinner table arguments with grace. But it made you Sagittarius. It gave you fire, not water. It gave you arrows, not olive branches. It wired you to see horizons that others do not even know exist. So use that wiring. Lead with it. And if in the process you sometimes overshoot the mark, at least you aimed for the sky. As every novelist knows, it is better to tell a story that stumbles in pursuit of greatness than to write one that never leaves the kitchen. To tie this all together, let me remind you that the path of the chosen ones is not about superiority. It is about responsibility. You are not better than anyone else, but you are called to something different. You signed up for the harder syllabus. You were handed battles that seemed cruel at the time but are now shaping you into the warrior you were always meant to be. And in the year of triumph 2025, those battles start paying dividends. Not in the form of easy applause or effortless luxury, but in the deep satisfaction of knowing that the mark on your soul was not wasted. You carried the torch when the night was darkest, and now others can see because you refused to put it down. So laugh at the absurdity, Sagittarius. Smile at the irony of being chosen for a life that often felt more like detention than destiny. But also stand tall in the knowledge that the very qualities that once got you in trouble are the same qualities that now make you necessary. The chosen ones are rarely comfortable, but they are always crucial. And you, with your restless spirit, your blunt honesty, your contagious laughter, and your bow aimed at the horizon, are proof that the world still needs a little wildness to stay alive. Sagittarius, let us return to the image of the warrior's helmet. For you, this helmet is not forged of iron or steel, nor does it clang in battle. It is invisible and it guards something far more fragile than your body, your mind. Right now, your greatest wars are fought not with external enemies but within the confines of your own head. Negativity, self-doubt, the endless comparisons of scrolling through other people's curated lives online, all of these are arrows aimed at piercing your spirit. And as someone who thrives on freedom, laughter, and wide horizons, you are especially vulnerable when the mind turns into a cage of sharp thoughts. Protect it as if it were a temple. Meditation, journaling, quiet mornings with tea, or long walks under the night sky are not luxuries for you at this stage, they are as necessary as food and water. Because here is the truth, your mind is the archer's bow. A weak bow sends the arrow tumbling short. A steady bow pierces the sky. And this is why many Sagittarians right now are experiencing something stranger than usual, dreams that jolt you awake at 3:33 in the morning, sensations of floating out of your body, sleep paralysis that leaves you half frightened, half awed. To dismiss these as mere brain misfires would be to miss their meaning. These are not malfunctions but activations. Your soul is rehearsing beyond the boundaries of flesh, traveling to collect information, preparing for what it has long known is coming. The reason the hour around 3 a.m. feels so intense is because the veil is thinnest thin, and spirit is whispering. And unlike most signs, Sagittarius is bold enough to listen. Do not shrug it off. Write these dreams down. Treat them as instructions, not interruptions. They are maps disguised as sleep, seeds disguised as images. Of course, I know my Sagittarian audience well enough to know that if I keep this too heavy, you will click away in search of cat videos, conspiracy theories, or a video of someone making a 3-layer cake while dressed as Darth Vader. So let us laugh for a moment. Your chosen one energy is not about shaving your head, renouncing the world, and chanting on a mountaintop for the rest of your days. Spirit knew you would be terrible at that assignment. Can you imagine Sagittarius forced into silence? Within 2 hours you would have bribed the goat herder with jokes, raided the wine stash in the monastery cellar, and organized a road trip with the monks to see the next town. That is not a failure, it is your gift. Humor is your medicine. You are the sign that can endure pain and still crack a joke in the middle of it. That balance between fire and laughter is what makes you magnetic. Your awakening is not meant to be humorless. In fact, your humor keeps your heart open, and that openness is the very thing that ensures your wisdom will not curdle into dogma. And speaking of wisdom, let us turn to the giraffe, the animal ally who walks with you now. Sagittarius and Giraffe are kindred spirits. Both see higher than others, both stretch themselves awkwardly toward the horizon, both occasionally look ridiculous while secretly being majestic. The giraffe's teaching is simple: see the big picture. You are famous for dreaming big, Sagittarius. You imagine worlds that others have not even conceived of yet. But in chasing leaves at the top of the tallest trees, you sometimes forget the ground beneath your own hooves. The giraffe spirit reminds you that vision without grounding becomes fantasy. You do not need to abandon your sky-high dreams, but you must remember that transformation begins where your feet actually stand. Don't wait for the whole world to change before you begin. Start with your own corner of it, your family, your work, your daily habits. A giant tree grows from a single root pressing into the soil, not from leaves waving in the wind. So here is the conclusion, the final truth of this cycle. You are marked. Not necessarily with a birthmark or a scar, but with destiny. The warrior's path has opened for you in the year of triumph 2025, and it is not an exaggeration to say that this is the year when years of wandering, struggling, and preparing begin to bear visible fruit. You are not asking for scraps anymore, you are harvesting what your past selves planted. And if you ask, why me? The answer is simple, because you are one of the chosen ones. You incarnated for this, to live large, to love boldly, to aim your arrow high, and to set others alight with the fire you carry. Take a breath. Let that settle into your chest. Then ask yourself with complete honesty, what is the arrow I am meant to shoot this year? What vision do I refuse to delay any longer? Because time is no longer waiting for you. The wheel is in your hands, the bow is drawn, and Sagittarius, the world is waiting for your mark. And while you prepare to step into that role, do not forget to enjoy life. Triumph is not only in the battles won, it is also in the laughter shared at a dinner table, the unexpected conversation with a stranger, the long ride with music blasting and windows rolled down. Awakened warriors are not meant to live in grim silence, they are meant to dance with existence even as they aim their arrows. So savor your victories, laugh at your stumbles, and remember that joy is part of your calling. If today's message resonates with you, take it as a sign to keep going. And if you found wisdom, encouragement, or even just a laugh in this reflection, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel, Zodiac Talks Tarot, so that together we can keep exploring the stars, the psyche, and the path of the soul. The journey is far from over, Sagittarius, but your bow is steady, your arrow is ready, and the horizon is calling your name.